This is the QTV Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM, and I am Mamna Buka. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. Vice President Mohamed B.S. Jallow today opened the high-level ministerial meeting of the Regional Child Rights Forum in the Gambia, held under a project supporting the protection of child victims of rights violations. The British High Commission in Banjul held a celebration marking King Charles III's birthday at the British High Commissioner's residence in Cape Point, Bakau on Tuesday. The government of the Gambia has nominated 3 individuals as commissioners of the newly formed Anti-Corruption Commission, an independent body tasked with leading efforts to combat corruption and related offenses. In sports news, the Gambia missed out on the Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON after a 1-0 home defeat to Kenya in a match played in Chess, Senegal. In international news, in the aftermath of one of the most powerful storms to hit the Caribbean in recent years, communities across Jamaica and Cuba awoke on Wednesday morning to devastation left behind by Hurricane Melissa. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. Vice President Mohamed B.S. Jallow today opened the high-level ministerial meeting of the Regional Child Rights Forum in the Gambia, held under a project supporting the protection of child victims of rights violations, funded by the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation. Ali Cisse reports.
The event, hosted by the Gambia's Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, in partnership with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, brings together ministers and experts from the sub-region to strengthen regional cooperation in protection of children's rights. This high-level ministerial meeting follows the technical forum, which set the stage for the ministerial discussions. Vice President Mohamed B.S. Jallow said the Gambia remains steadfast in protecting children through policies and legal frameworks and called for stronger collaboration among stakeholders.
This forum is not just a meeting, but a call to reaffirm our political will and to harmonize our policies with our promises. In addition, most importantly, it is a call to place the rights and well-being of children at the heart of national development.
The forum assesses progress made since the 2022 high-level ministerial meeting in the Gambia, where a roadmap for regional action on child protection was adopted. Fatou Kinte, the Gambia's Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, said the meeting offers a unique opportunity to reaffirm commitment to child protection.
As policy and decision makers, we carry the shared responsibilities to translate our commitments into action through stronger legal frameworks, increased investments in child protection systems, and greater accountability for violation of children's rights.
Delegates are also exploring persistent challenges affecting child protection, from cross-border child mobility and gender-based violence to early marriage. Babakar Sow, newly elected Speaker of the Children Assembly of the Gambia, called for more concrete action to safeguard their rights.
As children, we believe that regional cooperation is not an option, but a necessity for progress.
Several speakers, including Miata Lil French, the ECOWAS country representative, Iguana Pisani, the program officer for gender and human rights at the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation, and Carl Frederick Paul, the UN resident coordinator, said the discussions will help strengthen cross-border collaboration to ensure no child is left unprotected.
Child protection issues in West Africa are severe and often rooted in socio-economic challenges, cultural practices, and regional instability. While many countries have ratified international and regional child rights treaties, enforcement of laws against abuse, exploitation, and HTPs remains a major challenge.
Our goal is clear: to strengthen law, policy, and institutional frameworks, protect children, and combat trafficking in West Africa.
Children are not just the future, they are the present. The children and the adolescents of the Gambia, of Senegal, of Guinea-Bissau, of the world are the heartbeat of our communities.
The regional forum concluded with a ministerial declaration reaffirming collective responsibility towards the welfare of children in the sub-region. Reporting for QTV News, I am Ali Cisse.
The British High Commission in Banjul held a celebration marking King Charles III's birthday at the British High Commissioner's residence in Cape Point, Bakau on Tuesday. I was there and this is my report. Held under the theme Sport and Well-Being, the event brought together senior government officials, diplomats, and key partners from both nations, highlighting the enduring diplomatic ties between the Gambia and the United Kingdom. In November 2018, the then Prince Charles and Queen Camilla, who was then the Duchess of Cornwall, visited the Gambia as part of a West Africa tour. The royal couple were warmly received and met Gambian President Adama Barrow in Banjul, as well as paying a visit to the War Memorial at Fajara and St. Teresa's School. The attendees at this birthday celebration interacted amid an impressive assortment of food and drinks, showcasing the culinary richness present in both Gambian and British cultures. As the evening progressed, British High Commissioner Harriet King proposed a toast inviting the guests to join her in celebrating the life of His Majesty King Charles III and the enduring relationship between the Gambia and the United Kingdom. High Commissioner King highlighted the significance of the initiative extending beyond a birthday celebration.
As development partners, we need to ensure we are exactly that, partners. We must commit to having honest, equal, and close partnerships with our Gambian counterparts from the outset and work together to ensure that the impact we have is genuinely what is needed and is valuable, measurable, and sustainable.
The theme, Sport and Well-Being, highlights the vital role that sport plays in uniting communities and fostering healthy lifestyles. It provided attendees with an opportunity to engage in discussions about potential initiatives that can help enhance well-being in their communities through sports and physical activity. A live band took the stage entertaining guests and encouraging them to dance, a celebration of movement that reflected the very spirit of sport. Serigne Modou Njie, the Gambia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, shared a few words with the audience in celebration of the occasion.
We also recognize with deep admiration His Majesty King Charles III's enduring commitment to environmental protection, sustainable agriculture, interfaith understanding, youth employment. His vision of stewardship, caring for the planet and for one another, deeply resonate with the Gambia's own national development priorities.
As the celebration drew to a close, warm wishes were extended for King Charles and his reign, while partnerships were reaffirmed to further strengthen Gambia-UK diplomatic relations. Mamna Buka, reporting for QTV News.
Long to reign over us, God save the King.
The government of the Gambia has formally nominated 3 candidates to serve as commissioners of the newly established Anti-Corruption Commission (ACC), an independent body created under the 2023 Anti-Corruption Act to spearhead the fight against graft and other corruption-related offenses in the country. Ansumana Esonyasi has more.
The nominees are Sering Mas Jallo, a veteran audit director with over 2 decades of experience in public finance management, who has been proposed as the chairperson of the commission. Also nominated as commissioners are Almame S. Manga, a senior law enforcement officer with an extensive background in criminal investigations, and Aissatou J. Nahra, a legal professional with significant experience in governance and public accountability. As required by law, the official list of nominees has been submitted to the National Assembly for vetting and approval, and the motion for the confirmation of their appointments is expected to be tabled before lawmakers on December 2, 2025. In a statement released earlier this year, the Ministry of Justice detailed the selection process, emphasizing transparency and meritocracy. Following a public call for applicants in February 2025, the ministry reported receiving 52 applicants from professionals across various sectors. After an initial screening, 29 candidates were shortlisted based on stringent eligibility criteria, including qualifications, integrity, and relevant expertise. A vetting committee comprising representatives from government institutions and civil society further assessed the shortlisted candidates and eventually identified 8 highly qualified individuals with backgrounds in law, finance, and governance. The committee's final report was submitted to the cabinet for review, leading to the nomination of the 3 individuals who now await legislative approval. If confirmed by the National Assembly, the commissioners will be tasked with steering the Anti-Corruption Commission's operational framework, including investigations, public education, asset declarations, and prosecution of corruption-related offences. The establishment of the Commission marks a key milestone in the government's ongoing efforts to strengthen transparency, accountability, and good governance. The upcoming parliamentary session on December 2nd is expected to draw significant public and political interest as citizens and civil society organizations continue to call for stronger enforcement mechanisms to curb corruption and promote ethical governance in the Gambia. Meanwhile, observers say the appointments will be a crucial step towards making operational one of the country's most significant institutional reforms since the passage of the 2023 Anti-Corruption Act, which granted the Commission wide-ranging powers to combat corruption in both public and private sectors. Answane Sonyasi for KTV News.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have national, international, and sport news stories. Do stay tuned.
Looking for the perfect place to promote your product or place your advert? Look no further than QTV. We are the premier destination for businesses looking to connect with Gambian audiences and beyond. At QTV, we offer a variety of advertising solutions to suit your needs and budget. With our diverse range of programming, you can be sure that your ad will reach a broad and engaged audience. From our popular news broadcast to our exciting music and entertainment programming, QTV has something for everyone. QTV, the premier destination for advertising in the Gambia. Contact us today and let us help you reach your audience.
Browse with us. QCell brings you a promo like never before. Get unlimited internet for just $25 Cs. Yes! Recharge $25 Cs and enjoy the convenience of free internet from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day with our Browse with Us promo. With this amazing offer, you can browse, stream, and download all your favorite movies for free. So why wait? Recharge $25 C today and enjoy free internet only with QCell between 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. For more information, call customer care on 111. QCell, Senior Bus, we innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and this is QTV News. Action Aid International Gambia, in collaboration with the Alliance of Biodiversity International, presented research findings on the intersection of women's leadership and climate change adaptation in the Gambia to stakeholders for review on Tuesday. Lolly M. Kamara tells us more.
Officials say the report will guide evidence-based advocacy and policy development for a more inclusive, resilient approach to climate change, emphasizing women's leadership in community-level adaptation efforts. Fafa Cham, head of programs and policy at Action Aid International Gambia, highlighted the report's significance.
Having done the research and getting very interesting ideas or information, we thought it is important that we share that information to relevant stakeholders. Of course, this includes CSOs who are into women empowerment, government institutions like the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Gender and Climate Change.
The research findings were presented by Binta Emil Sise, Women's Rights Manager at Action Aid International Gambia.
The findings are such that a lot of women are seeing low participation of women in these leadership roles when it comes to climate adaptation and mitigation. especially in the rural areas. Women are facing, in terms of, illiteracy levels, low illiteracy levels, they are disproportionately affected by, flooding, drought, a lot of hazards that are happening.
The study emphasizes that women are not merely beneficiaries of climate initiatives, but active change agents whose leadership strengthens the effectiveness and sustainability of adaptation strategies. Binta Emal Sise, the Women's Rights Manager at Action Aid the Gambia, outlined the research findings' key recommendations.
We should intensify training programs for women. We should roll out climate change adaptation mitigation mechanisms so that they know. And we should also see men as allies.
The interactive session allowed participants to share insights and practical field experience. Lawa Drame, a regional gender officer with the Ministry of Gender, and Dr. Sekou E. Sanyang, the Agriculture Ministry's Deputy Permanent Secretary, expressed solidarity on behalf of their institutions.
In the Gambia, women forms the majority of the population, producing most of what we consume, yet still are challenged with access to resources such as land. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare is in solidarity with all women, regardless of their ethnicity, age, background, and also committed to advocate for policies that integrate women's unique knowledge and experience to a more resilient, sustainable community.
I just also want to commend the consultant, the team of consultants, for coming up with this comprehensive report as a foresight for development. Because all of us are going to use this document for reference purpose, for any other thing that is related to rural development.
Fafa Cham, head of programs and policy at Action Aid Gambia, says the research will boost advocacy, emphasizing women's key role in climate adaptation and resilience efforts nationwide. For QTV News, Loli M. Kamara.
Coming up next is sport news. In sport news, the Gambia missed out on the Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON after a 1-0 home defeat to Kenya in a match played in Chess, Senegal. The Harambee Starlets had won the home leg of the two-legged tie 3-1 4 days earlier. Momodu Gajaga tells us more.
The WAFCON dream of the Gambia women's national team, the Queen Scorpions, have ended after they lost 1-0 to Kenya at home and 4-1 on aggregate over the two legs on Tuesday, the 28th of October. In another dominant display, the Harambee Starlets found a way to deservedly get the aggregate win against the Queen Scorpions, who did not have answers in the return home leg played in Chess, Senegal. Maolima Adam scored the only goal of the game in the 58th minute after a defensive mix-up, which saw the Gambia keeper knock down one of her own defenders. The victory sends the Harambee Starlets to the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, WAFCON 2026. The Queen Scorpions went into the game having lost the first leg 3-1 in Nairobi. Ola Buaro, assistant captain of the team, said in a pre-match press conference that they were well prepared prior to the game and have learned from their mistakes from the first leg. However, such optimism was misplaced, as it quickly became clear that not much has changed from the first leg, apart from the narrow scoreline. Kenya dominated again, creating better scoring opportunities and were the more skillful and disciplined side. The defeat marks the third consecutive time the Gambia women's national team has fallen at the final round of WAFCON qualifiers. Their two previous opponents were Nigeria and Cameroon. The long wait for first ever qualification continues. The Harambee Starlets qualified to WAFCON for the first time in 9 years. Mamoudou Gajaga, QTV News.
Next is international news. In the aftermath of one of the most powerful storms to hit the Caribbean in recent years, Communities across Jamaica and Cuba awoke on Wednesday morning to devastation left behind by Hurricane Melissa. With winds exceeding 140 miles per hour, the storm tore through towns, toppling homes, uprooting lives, and plunging hundreds of thousands into darkness. Here is our Bob.
Melissa first struck Jamaica, bringing torrential rains, strong winds, and massive flooding. Coastal towns bore the brunt, with landslides blocking roads and forcing thousands to evacuate. In Kingston, down power lines left much of the city in darkness. By Tuesday, the hurricane reached Santiago de Cuba, where the Cuban Meteorological Institute described it as one of the worst storms in recent memory. Floodwaters submerged entire neighborhoods, while key infrastructure, including hospitals and bridges, sustained severe damage. Rescue teams work around the clock to reach stranded residents, delivering food, water, and medical aid to isolated communities. Farmers reported extensive crop losses, raising concerns about potential food shortages in the coming weeks. Regional leaders are coordinating relief efforts, and international assistance is beginning to arrive. Jamaica's Prime Minister called the disaster a national tragedy and urged citizens to remain resilient and support one another during recovery. Although Melissa has weakened as it moves north, weather experts warn that heavy rain and flooding could continue to threaten parts of the Caribbean and southern Florida. For QTV News, I am our Bob.
Also in international news, Cameroon entered a second day of political turmoil on Tuesday following the official proclamation of presidential election results, as protests spread across major cities and international voices condemned the government's violent crackdown on demonstrators. Iafatu Gay reports.
Massive security deployments were reported in the capital, Yaoundé, on Monday, hours after the Constitutional Council declared long-serving President Paul Biya the winner of last week's disputed vote. Biya, 92, is now set to extend his 4-decade rule, making him the world's longest-serving head of state still in office. Tensions erupted shortly after the results were announced. In Dalawa, the country's economic capital, residents took to the streets in anger, setting up roadblocks and burning tires to denounce what opposition groups describe as a stolen election. Similar scenes unfolded in Garwa and parts of the restive northern region, where anti-government sentiments has been simmering for years amid an ongoing separatist conflict. By Tuesday morning, Dawala's main highways were paralyzed, and reports emerged of clashes between protesters and security forces. Witnesses described the sound of gunfire echoing through several neighborhoods as police attempted to disperse demonstrators. Human rights groups and local journalists reported multiple arrests and at least 5 confirmed deaths, though official figures have not been released. Internet connectivity in several regions were reportedly disrupted, raising fears of a government-imposed blackout similar to those seen in past election crises. The European Union issued a strongly worded statement late Tuesday expressing deep concern about the violent repression of demonstrations and condemning the death by firearm of several civilians. Brussels urged Cameroonian authorities to express restraint, launch an independent investigation into the violence, and release all persons arbitrarily detained since the election. The United States, France, and the African Union also called for calm and dialogue, warning that further escalation could undermine stability in the Central African nation.
a key regional security partner in the fight against Boko Haram. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafat Gay.
Before we end, here's a recap of the headlines. Vice President Mohamed B.S. Jallow today opened the high-level ministerial meeting of the Regional Child Rights Forum in the Gambia, held under a project supporting the protection of child victims of rights violations. The British High Commission in Banjul held a celebration marking King Charles III's birthday at the British High Commissioner's residence in Cape Point, Bakau, on Tuesday. The government of the Gambia has nominated 3 commissioners of the newly formed Anti-Corruption Commission, an independent body tasked with leading efforts to combat corruption and related offenses. In sports news, the Gambia missed out on the Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON after a 1-0 home defeat to Kenya in a match played in Chess, Senegal. In international news, in the aftermath of one of the most powerful storms to hit the Caribbean in recent years, communities across Jamaica and Cuba awoke on Wednesday morning to devastation left behind by Hurricane Melissa. That's all for this news bulletin. Do join us again at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.